Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a full leg day, and we are going to start it off with a glute and hamstring activation warm-up. So we are going to start with 5 full range glute bridges, driving our heels into the floor, lifting with the glutes. Moving into 5 abductors at the top of our bridge, driving the knees out against the tension of the band. Then we'll go into a single leg glute bridge, driving our heel through the floor and squeezing our hamstrings to lift. We'll do 5 on each leg. And then we will go into our 10 glute pulses. When we do our glute pulses, we want to make sure that we are lifting with the glutes, squeezing, not lifting with our back or just our hip extension. So do those slow and controlled, get it to really burn and fire up. Our next part of this warm-up is going to be a squat warm-up. We're going to do 2 sets of 5 banded squats. We're going to lift with our glutes from the bottom and drive our knees out against the tension of the band. We'll then go into 10 banded squat pulses, and these pulses are going to be lifting about 3 to 4 inches in that squat, really emphasizing squeezing with the glutes. Our first exercise for this leg day is going to be a hack squat. We are targeting our glute and hamstring tie-in, and we are going to first start with a lighter weight to warm up, and we're going to get our feet a little bit higher on the platform, and notice that that platform is at a slight incline. When we drop into our squat, we are going to go controlled on the eccentric on the way down, slight pause at the bottom, and squeeze our glutes and hamstrings to drive all the way up out of that squat. Notice that I keep control throughout the entire lift and tension even at the top without fully extending my knees. Alrighty, we are now going to add some weight, 10 pounds to each side. I'm keeping the weight a little bit lighter because I'm trying to go for more repetition at this weight while still being able to control the movement and get to a good depth. I'm getting to at least 90 degrees on the squats and still adding a slight pause at the bottom so that I can activate my glutes and hamstrings to lift. Another important thing to remember is to keep the core braced, pushing air into the low belly like you're trying to break that weight belt so that we can protect our low back and make sure that we are only lifting with our legs and not our back. Another important thing to note is the foot, making sure to drive through the center of the foot and heel and not just through the toes. This is a hamstring and glute focused exercise, so we want to make sure that our heels aren't coming up and we are not using too much of a quad drive. Exercise number 2 is going to be a lying hamstring curl. We just finished up our hack squats, and now we are going to burn up the hamstrings a little bit more. So we are going to do 3 to 4 sets of a lying hamstring curl, contracting the hamstrings at the top of the lift and focusing on a slow, controlled eccentric on the way down. Notice that my feet are staying flexed, heels to ceiling, and I'm going to a full extension all the way to the bottom. At the top, I squeeze for about a second, really making sure to drive my hips into the platform to get that extra good squeeze on the hamstring. This hamstring curl machine is Arsenal brand. and each one will be different dependent on the brand. So go with a weight where you are able to only use that hamstring contraction rather than using momentum. After finishing up your 3 to 4 sets of the hamstring curl, we are going to go into a single leg curl. Now for this one, we definitely want to go with a lighter weight, and we are still going to focus on that squeeze and contraction at the top, keeping that foot flexed, and we're going to go for as many as we can on each side. Now when I say that these get spicy, I mean it. You can see I even struggle on the last rep, but we want to make sure that we are pushing ourselves to get at least one more rep than we think we can get. And I love doing the single leg because it's so beneficial when you have imbalances. So make sure to do these with a lot of intention and do your best to get as many reps as possible. Exercise number 3, we are going to do a seated leg extension. Now that we've done some hamstring exercises, we're going to move into our quad exercises. And for this one, we will do 3 to 4 sets, again, controlling the movement, focusing on a big squeeze at the top, hitting all 3 points of the quad, the inner quad, outer quad, and the top of the quad by your hip. We are going to go for as many reps as we can, good reps, controlling the eccentric on the way down, pausing for about a second at the top of the lift. Now with these ones, we will do as many controlled reps as possible. And then when we feel like we're about to fail, we are going to just rep out a couple more, really burn up the quads until we can't pull any more. On our last set of our seated leg extension, we will start at our heaviest weight, do about 10 reps or so, or until we can't, and then we will drop the weight, do as many as we can at that second weight, and then drop the weight again, hitting as many reps as we can at that lowest weight. Our goal here is to burn up the quads and really get those quads fired up, because our next exercise is going to be another quad dominant lift. Exercise number 4. We are going to do a barbell heel elevated back squat. Now this squat is intended to be quad focused. I highly recommend warming up the knees before you do this lift, especially if you do have any sort of knee pain. I like to first warm up with the barbell for all of my squat movements. That way I can get used to the pattern, make sure my knees are nice and warm, as well as my hip flexors. All right, now we are going to add a little bit of weight for our first warm-up set. And for this lift, we want to make sure that we initiate the lift with our hips driving back. And then we will let our knees drive over our shoelaces and our toes. This allows it to be more of a quad focus when we go to stand. At the bottom of the squat, I am squeezing my glutes and keeping tension in my quads. And you'll notice that at the top of the lift, I'm not going to a full extension. So I'm not bringing my hips all the way forward, but I'm flexing my quads at the top. My biggest piece of advice when executing this lift is to always keep tension everywhere. So we're keeping tension in the quads mainly, glutes, and the core. Always making sure to brace, keeping air in the low belly like you're trying to break that belt. From the front angle, you will see how I set up my stance on the plate. I keep a pretty narrow stance with my toes driving straight forward. And when I drop into my squat, I also let my knees drive straight forward over my toes. I don't let my knees drive too far out because I want to keep that tension right on top of the quads when I go to lift out of this squat. Exercise number 5, we have a weighted donkey kick. With this one, we definitely want to make sure that we are creating a hollow body and bracing our core when we go to drive our leg up. I'm driving through my heel, squeezing my hamstrings and my glutes to lift the weight. I'm only lifting it in a range where I'm able to continue keeping my core tight. We will be doing 3 sets of this, 10 to 12 reps per leg, and we'll be supersetting it with a seated abductor. We are going to focus on the glute med, driving the knees out against the weight. Also making sure to continue to brace the core, only moving that weight with the outside part of our glute. We will be going for 20 reps on this one. And continuing to go back and forth between our weighted donkey kicks and our abductors. Exercise number 6, we are doing walking lunges with a plate twist. We are adding the plate to engage our core and fire off our obliques, working the sides. And when we go into our lunges, we are taking a medium stride forward, driving through our front foot, activating hamstrings and glutes to lift straight up out of the lunge. Making sure that our heel and center of the foot and toes are pasted to the floor and we're not coming too far on our toes or too far on our heels. I'm holding that plate out in front of me just as far as it can maintain my core strength and not let my neck or traps take over. We are going to do these until we get tired and finish up this leg day. Alrighty, and as always, we want to cool down after our workouts, slow down our heart rate, and really take in what we just did and how hard we worked. So I'm going to get a little bit of sun, and it is a bit windy out today, but we are going to go into a pigeon stretch on each side, and we're going to slow down the heart rate and the breath by breathing in through our nose and out through our mouth. You can do whatever stretches you like or prefer depending on what feels sore, what feels a little bit tight. But take a couple moments after your workouts to really take in all the effort and push you just gave. And let that body relax a little bit. All right, my friends, that's gonna conclude our leg day. I'm gonna go home now and eat a big old meal because that was a very long workout. That was about like an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes because it was a full leg day. So we did hamstrings, glutes, and quads, and all the fun stuff. So to conclude this video, just a little bit more emphasis on what we were doing. So I'm a huge fan of controlled movement, especially on the eccentric. And what that means is, for instance, if we're doing a hamstring curl, we're going to curl our legs all the way to the top, contract the hamstring, and then we're going to do a slow descent, so that's slow eccentric on the way down. Or for a back squat, we're going to focus on slow control on the way down to the squat and then power on the way up. And really paying attention to what muscles we are keeping tension with, what muscles we are lifting with. And so hopefully you guys got some good takeaways from today's workout, and I hope you have an amazing leg pump and glute pump. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you guys can see more workouts, more fitness tips, more nutrition tips, and all the fun stuff. So I hope you have a great rest of your day.